I have to turn that down.
All right, everyone, welcome and thank you so much for being here, ready for another episode of Latino World Travelers virtual travel party. Today, we have with us our amazing Alex, and she's gonna talk to us about everything we need to know about a complete travel experience in Serbia. So thank you so much, Alex, for being here. I am so excited to hear about Serbia. You have no idea.
Yay, thank you for having me. Oh my God, Serbia is amazing. You're going to love it. I'm really appreciative of you inviting me on here today.
Thank you. So tell us, when did you go to Serbia and why did you decide to go there?
Yeah, so I went to Serbia in 2018. I want to say September or so. And the reason I went there is because I am a travel writer. I was invited by the Serbian tourism department to come out there to check out the country, see what it has to offer, and then write about my experiences in magazines and outlets that I work for, so that other people could come see Serbia too.
Wow. And what cities did you go to? We want to know the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, so while I was there, I think we were there for like a week or so. Um, And we started off in Belgrade. We were there for most of the time, but we did do a day trip out to the northern region, kind of getting close to the Hungary border, which Serbia is not a huge country. It's not like I live in Texas, so whenever you're trying to drive around, that's like a 15-hour drive no matter where you go.
Yes.
Um, just to get from Belgrade to the Hungarian border, I think it was maybe 2.5 hours, 3 hours. It wasn't that bad. And oddly enough, the countryside looked a lot like parts of Texas. So that was kind of cool.
Nice. So you were there 7 days. You said you went to Belgrade. What other parts of the country did you go to?
Yeah, the other main city that we visited was Subotica. Um, it's a city that it's been like occupied or had people there for at least 3,000 years. It's been under 5 different country rules, because it is on the Hungarian border. So it's kind of been in this weird spot over the centuries on like who, I guess, rules Subotica. But what makes Subotica very impressive, it's this very small, very beautiful city. And when I say pretty, I'm saying like, um, if you've ever been to Spain and you've seen a lot of Gaudi's Art Nouveau buildings in Barcelona,
Mhm.
um, Subotica has a lot of Art Nouveau architecture as well. It's Hungarian Art Nouveau, but it's so gorgeous. It's very colorful. It has a lot of beautiful patterns that are like flowers or animals or birds or trees in nature. There's about 12 of these historic Art Nouveau buildings, and it's just a very colorful, adorable city that you just want to walk around in.
Mhm. And you said you have pictures to show us?
I do. I have a
Ooh.
ton of pictures. So I will show you Subotica. Did you want me to kind of go through some pictures now, or do you want to wait till a little later?
We're going for them through now, and then you tell us your journey as you go through the pictures.
Perfect. I can do that. Okay. Let me share my screen.
You guys ready?
Okay. So can you see this?
Yes.
Okay. So this seems like a very odd photo to start out with, but it's not. This is a picture of rakia. It's a fruit brandy that Serbians drink a bunch. It's their main alcohol. It's like 40 proof. Uh, I want to say that's right. Yeah, it's really, really strong.
And
And
you
you
had
have,
you had the whole shot?
yes, it's a very popular to have shots at lunch, dinner. They make this fruit brandy after through like a various different fruits. Strawberry, plum, I mean any kind of fruit, but quince is a very popular one. It's kind of tart, and I think this was quince. So we were having this at lunch, and it was a really good way to kind of get into the Serbian spirit.
Yes.
And if you're ever there and you get rakia, you have to say ziveli, which is like cheers or salud in Serbian.
How did you say it again?
Ziveli, it's Ziveli. Ziveli.
Siveli.
Yes. And they love their rakia, and you will have it while you're there. Really cool. Or actually, I'll explain later a little bit more about rakia because I have another photo.
Hmm.
So
Isn't the proof usually higher? Isn't it like 80 proof?
it
I think
it
you mean
might
80
be.
proof. It's
Is it
40% alcohol. It's like pisco,
okay? 40% alcohol. Then I was trying to figure out if I had written 40 proof or 40% alcohol, and
which
it
is 80
probably is.
proof. Yeah, so it's like pisco almost, like the percentage.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's strong.
Yes.
How you
So
But
be
start?
it's
careful. Be careful when you drink it because you never know.
How
exactly.
you start a vacation though?
Yeah, exactly. And then this is what we had to eat along with our rakia. This is kind of a modern style of Serbian dining, but what they're really known for is family style. They put a bunch of meat, vegetables, salads, soups, all on the table, and everybody goes at it. I couldn't even
Awesome.
tell you what all of this stuff is, but it
Mhm.
was delicious.
Yes. Is there anything in particular that you really enjoy and you say and you wanted to have it again and again?
Okay, so I hate tomatoes. I hate tomatoes in the US. I hate tomatoes anywhere in the world. The only place I've ever liked tomatoes is Serbia. I don't
No
know
way.
why, but they have them in a lot of their salads, and they're organically grown in most of the country. They're super fresh, super crisp. They almost taste like they almost have the crispness of an apple. So I was really into their vegetables because everything just tastes really fresh and amazing. Um, they also have really good sausage there. It's very spicy, but it's very good. But I'm a spicy person, so I love spicy food.
That sounds yummy.
Yeah. Okay, so I think a lot of people are kind of confused about Serbia. We were just me and Vanessa were talking about this. I think a lot of people think it's war torn or that there are a lot of wars and conflicts there. It hasn't had any conflicts since the 1990s. This is actually a picture in Belgrade. It's where NATO dropped the bomb on the Yugoslavian Ministry of Defense. That is the only instance of conflict that I could see, like that was still kind of like you could see the remnants of conflict that had happened in this
Okay.
country. Serbia was once Yugoslavia, or it was part of Yugoslavia. And so, yeah, it's extremely safe there today. I when I got into the airport, I literally got off the plane and walked out in 5 minutes. There really wasn't any security. I didn't have any problems walking around this Belgrade by myself. I never felt uncomfortable or you know unsafe in any instance at all. It's super safe and a wonderful country.
Is there any particular way that people have to dress or women or they're completely like normal?
No. Eastern Europe, it's kind of like Europe, and then it's very open-minded. So I
Mhm.
didn't feel the need to dress a certain way, or I remember in looking up kind of, the cultural, um, that aspect of the culture, and there was no indication that that was anything. Yeah.
That is great. So
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to going. And
Yeah.
I was telling her earlier that I was actually looking at the level of safety in that country, and they are in the top 30 countries, the safest countries in the world. So I wasn't expecting that. So I'm really glad to see that because now I'm more excited to go there.
Yes, and everybody there is very helpful. Everybody speaks English. They love to chat with you, and like they're really, really proud to be Serbian. So they're gonna like answer all your questions about Serbia, their culture, and their community and history. Here, this is near Prince. Let's see, Prince Michael Street. Prince Michael Street is the like very popular shopping area. Has a bunch of restaurants. I thought this was cute because this is like your very Instagrammable restaurant area.
Yes, yes.
But it has a ton of dining. Here, this is also in Belgrade. This is the Belgrade Fortress. Here you'll also find Kalemegdan Park. I don't know if that's exactly how I pronounce it, but a lot of people come here because it also has a zoo. It has a military museum. It has stunning views of Belgrade. Here's a view of, I want to say this is the Danube River. Belgrade is kind of intersected by River Sava and the Danube River. So whenever you're on the top of Belgrade Fortress, you have these gorgeous views. You can see a little bit more of the fortress here. This is a historic place, but a lot of people will come up here, have a drink with their friends. Couples come here to, hang out.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very community-oriented area. It's free to go up there. It's humongous. So if you want to go like work out in the morning before you hit the streets, perfect place for that because there's a lot of stairs.
Wow.
And that's me there at the fortress.
Mm-hmm. How is transportation? Like, how did you get there?
So I flew on Air Serbia. From Dallas, I went to New York City, and from New York City, there's a direct flight on Air Serbia. It was a fantastic trip. Actually, it was my first time I was in first class, and it was wonderful.
Wow.
I know this was the case a couple years ago when right after I went, it was anywhere between $400 to $600 to get from New York City to Serbia round trip. I don't know if that's changed. Obviously, we've had a pandemic, so prices have adjusted, but Air Serbia was fantastic. And when you're in Belgrade, you can really walk. A lot of people walk everywhere, but they do have a fantastic bus system. It's very pedestrian friendly, the city. And they have versions of like Lyft and Uber. It's their versions. It's very affordable. It's not expensive to use them. I think I went like for a 10-minute drive, I think it was like $2.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's really cheap.
very cheap.
What currency do they use?
I think it's called a dinar. No.
Dinar. And the
Serbian.
exchange rate is good?
It's very good for U.S. travelers. Or it was when I went. I'm not exactly sure how it is now. This is also part of the fortress. One of the best parts about Belgrade is St. Salva Church. This is a very important symbol in Serbia. For many centuries, they were under the Ottoman Empire, and so Serbians couldn't practice their religion, couldn't do a lot of things under that ruling. And Saint Sava was the saint. He founded the Serbian church, and his remains are said to be underneath this church. They've been building this church since the early 1900s. It's still not done. On the other side of this church, I could see a lot of scaffolding. But inside is the crypt of Saint Sava, where supposedly his remains, which were burned by the Turkish Ottoman Empire, are at. It's gorgeous on the outside, even beautiful in the inside. As you can see here is the crypt. Yeah. Serbian art in their church is just phenomenal. It's very colorful. It's very intricate. They love to paint on all aspects of the walls. It's just opulent.
Looks beautiful.
So one of the great things about Belgrade is they have a lake in the middle of the city. This is Ada Lake. So it was really warm. We went and had a beach day there. You can rent jet skis. People lay out. Kind of right above this, you can't see, but behind the beach is like a row of restaurants and bars. So people will go have something to eat, come down the beach. In the evenings, they stay there, have more drinks, and they turn into clubs.
Oh.
Actually, I don't have a picture of this, but Serbia is known in Europe as being a big nightlife scene. Huge nightlife scene. They're very well known for their splavs, which are riverboat clubs. They're these big boats that are set on the river. They're, humongous. And people go to these nightclubs and they just go and hop between the nightclubs. We went one night, had a blast, so much dancing. And then I really enjoyed their bar scene. It's very like cool and hip and laid back, a lot of like outdoor bar areas. If you ever go, check out Dorkel Mala, Betenhala. Sava, Mala, and I don't even know if I'm pronouncing this right.
They all end with Mala.
Yeah. Except for the last one is like
So-
Satinshka.
Sorry
I
to
think.
cut in, Vanessa, but to answer your question from earlier, $1 equals about 99 of their dinars,
Uh-huh.
and the average monthly salary is about 59 dinars, which is roughly $560
Oh, wow.
in their money. I mean, if you're to do it with a month, so it means our dollar goes a long way.
Yeah. Here's a good example. I went and got a 1.5 hour massage, and it was $30.
Ooh, that's
Yeah.
awesome. You're speaking my language when you talk about massages.
It was the weirdest. I don't want to say weirdest. It was an interesting experience. We found this place like online, Yelp or something like that. It was in an apartment building, so it wasn't in like a business. And we had to go up these very poorly lit stairs to try to find this place. It was a very small place, but it was one of the best massages I've had in my whole life. So it was worth it.
That's all it matters.
Exactly.
If they can get into the crannies of your back.
It works.
Oh, wow. Very,
This is
very good.
this is
So,
also in Serbia. Sorry, go ahead.
I wanted to ask you about the nightlife. What kind of music do they play when you go out and stuff?
Yeah, they played a lot of top 40 hip hop, pop, rap. I mean, you would know the songs.
Uh-huh.
Um, it was interesting. If you listen to the radio, you'll know the songs, but they're not sung by the artist that you know.
Ah.
At times, yeah. But when you go to a club, like I remember we heard Drake in the club, so it's like stuff you would know. And of course, there's like soft rock in the bars and such. Yeah, so you'll feel very comfortable. It's not um anything, I guess, out of the ordinary. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
how to say that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's cool.
Yes.
This is the Serbian parliament. I just thought it was very pretty.
It is very
A lot of their
pretty.
architecture is phenomenal in Serbia. I do not actually remember the name of this church, but it's one of the historic churches in Belgrade. You'll just find that there are just gorgeous architecture around. Okay, so I guess we're skipping over to Subotica. This was the city near the Hungarian border I was speaking about.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an example of the Art Nouveau architecture. You can kind of see like it's very opulent, it's very floral, it has kind of a shell design on the windows. And this is the synagogue. It is the second largest synagogue in Europe, but it actually only, and this is the inside, it only has about 400 Jewish parishioners because during the Holocaust, all of the Jews in Subotica were taken away, and there were about 6,000 living there at the time, and now there's only, and then after the Holocaust, I think there was maybe 200 that came back. But the city has realized this is a very important, beautiful structure, and they renovated it in the last few years. It reopened in 2018, like a few months before I got there.
Oh,
So I was one of the first people to see it after it'd been reopened, and
nice. Perfect timing.
perfect. I just wanted to stay in there all day. I mean, there's just so much to look at. The detail is amazing. The stained glass is beautiful, and you really get to learn about the history of this Jewish community and kind of how significant it is. On the pews, they have the family names that were part of the Jewish community in Subotica. So it's just a big part of European history is here in Serbia, and this is one of it.
Very, very nice.
And this is an example of one of the streets in Subotica. Very charming, a lot of trees. People walk and bike. Cafes are a very big thing in Serbia, so is coffee culture. So you'll see people out all the time having coffee at cafes. This is one of the main squares in Subotica. This blue fountain is very famous there, as is the city hall that's behind it. It's also in this Art Nouveau style. And this is one of their main streets in Subotica. You can see it's very colorful, has a lot of historic buildings, kind of mixed in with some modern ones. I love this building. Yes. This was right around the corner from where we had our lunch. And
that's a residence, like a regular?
It's not a residence. I think they use it now as a business. I think somebody has businesses in there. But this is a historic building, one of their earliest Art Nouveau buildings. This is what you will see kind of around the city. It's gorgeous. Just you could just stare at it all day. And if the building is a little bit more modern, sometimes they like to make it look a little bit like this style. So that's pretty cool too.
Mm-hmm. And what was the name of the restaurant that you were right across?
Oh my God, I cannot remember the name. I didn't write that down.
It's okay. You'll get back to us. It's okay.
It's on my Instagram. If you go to my Serbia stories, you'll be able to see it. It's this very beautiful courtyard. They love to eat outside. They love to have coffee outside. So you will notice a lot of courtyard dining in Serbia.
That sounds lovely.
Near Subotica, we went to Zvonko Winery. One of the things I didn't realize about Serbia is they have a lot of wine. They're known as having a great wine region. The red wine, I only had Serbian wine while I was there, and everything I had was great. I'm a big red wine drinker. And there's also, if you go into the eastern side of the country, which we didn't go to, they have what's called a wine route. It's called the Negotin wine route. Yes. So you can hop between a lot of historic monasteries, wineries. They're known in that area for having a black grape that makes a really good wine. But it was just a very gorgeous winery that we went to. This is me at the winery.
Wow.
So as I was mentioning about their churches, Serbia has, I want to say, 400 monasteries, and many of them are UNESCO World Heritage Sites. This is Kovilj, I think that's how you pronounce it, monastery. It was built in the 13th century. We went there. We had the most amazing tour by a monk who had lived in the US, who had lived in New York City for a year. So it was really fun to talk with him.
Wow.
He made a lot of jokes. He was talking about his time in New York when he was a young kid and why he became a monk. One of the cool things about the monasteries in Serbia is they're very self-sufficient. So they will make rakia, they will make wine, and they will sell it in their there's like a little store that's at the entrance of the monastery. So you could buy wine made by the local monks, or you can buy rakia made by them too.
Cool.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of the wines that I like to get because they're very unique and they don't export those kind of wines. So
no,
you can only get it there.
Yeah. And they make it traditionally. They're not using pesticides. They're made in small batches. And then I have heard that if you ask the monks very nicely, they might have a drink with you. So they do drink rakia and
wait, I didn't know monks
wine.
could drink.
They can in Serbia. I mean, priests can drink wine.
I guess. Maybe they could drink it but not get drunk.
Yeah. I don't know what they do. But...
Come on.
Yeah, so if you also wanted to check out another monastery with great wine, Bukovo Monastery is another good one. It's in eastern Serbia. But as you can see, the paintings at Kovilj Monastery are gorgeous. They were all done by hand. This is actually a very small room, very, very small. And while we were there, we got to see the monks kind of do one of their ceremonies. It's not common that you get to witness that. But it was just very interesting. I just love stuff like that. And this is the outside of Kovich Monastery. I really love the entrance there.
I love
All
that
right.
it's a very great mix of the old with the new and the nightlife fun with the very laid back and like historic. I love that
Yeah.
mixture.
Well, I have some more photos here that you're going to see Serbia get it even more complicated in a good way. So I stayed at Metropol Palace. This is like, I think their 10th floor or 12th floor. So you get amazing views of the whole city, and you can see St. Salva Church, which I showed you earlier there. Metropol Palace was the very first 5-star hotel, and I like comparable because of the money exchange. You could actually stay here for a pretty decent rate, that you wouldn't be like going out of your way. This is one of my favorite areas. It's called Dorkel Platz. It's a very artsy scene. It's kind of like your Brooklyn. I mean, it is in Belgrade, but it's very artsy scene, outdoors, local communities. You have these outdoor patios where everybody
Oh, I
gets
want the
together.
spaceship.
Yeah, random spaceship in the middle of this restaurant. We got there a little bit too early before things had opened, but I just love that community, Dorkelplatz. One of the things you'll notice very quickly when you're in Serbia is people have a very interesting style. I would like to, I guess I would say it's like a mix of Asian, like Eastern style fashion and Western style, because Serbia is actually in the middle of the East and the West. So
Okay.
everything kind of comes through there, and it kind of clashes, and it clashes in a good way. So when we were there, we randomly came across this Belgrade design district. It's local fashion designers showcasing beautiful clothes, jewelry. I actually got a gorgeous ring from this area for like $10, and it's beautiful silver ring. But I just love kind of this it's very hidden, and you wouldn't notice it from the main street, and you kind of have to be looking for it. It has art on the wall. All of these creative people are there in this little Belgrade design district. But we just couldn't get over the fashion the whole time. Like, we would be walking by and we're like, oh my God, do you see what they're wearing? Do you see what they're wearing? But I really love cool, different fashion. It was very unique.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen anything like it in the world.
Very interesting.
I wish I had a photo too. That's okay.
Don't worry, you're just giving us something for us to go check.
Exactly. This is another part of the Belgrade design district. It's just inside. And here's kind of just an example. They have a lot of street art. It's unique. I think it's a lot of colorful, and I think a lot of it tends to be maybe political in some senses, which I think is wonderful.
Yeah.
And that's all my photos that I have.
It looks amazing. So guys, please, if you have any questions in Instagram, just put your questions at the bottom, or here in Zoom. If you have any questions, you could put them in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask the questions directly.
Yes.
What questions do we have about Serbia? Tell them about the Mexican community that they have.
Yeah.
Not community, but they love
connection.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm half Mexican. So when I travel around the world, I'm, very aware when I see Mexican culture. They have a lot of Mexican restaurants there. I mean, a lot. If you go to this area called Betenhala, it's an outdoor restaurant area that overlooks one of the rivers. There's a place called Frida's that's a restaurant, Mexican restaurant. I kept noticing a ton of burrito places and, just different shops and things. And I asked my tour guide, like, why do I keep seeing so much Mexican stuff here? Apparently, Serbia and Mexico have a very long history of trade and community and, connection over the years. So they really kind of, I guess have exchanged their cultures between
Mm-hmm.
one another, which I really, really loved. Um, and then I was telling Vanessa one night we were walking through one of the main squares, and I just saw a huge crowd of people dancing salsa, and it was one of the most like heartwarming things I'd ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
um, so if you want to see that, I do have that video in my Serbia stories on my Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
which is a really fun. Yeah, it just warms my heart to see Latino culture around the world, especially in
Yes,
Serbia places.
exactly. Places that you will actually like never expect that, but
Ever.
we make an impact everywhere in the world,
Yes, we
little by
do.
little. And that's why I want to create Latino World Travelers, because it's not just about immersing yourselves in other culture, but bringing your culture to those countries. You know how many
Exactly.
times I've gone to a country and they say Dominican Republic, they don't even know where that is. So I
Oh, yeah.
something. I'm like, okay, it's here in the Caribbean next to Haiti, you know? So,
Yes. No, I love that cultural exchange. And I think you'll find that with Serbians, they're very open to that. They want to talk about things going on in the US or in other countries, and they know about these things. They want to tell you about their history, about their community. And, you know, if you don't go to a museum, I would suggest going to Belgrade's Museum of Contemporary Art. You'll learn a lot about Yugoslavia and the history through this very cool art exhibits. But they want to talk to you about these things. They're very open. Go have a coffee with them. I didn't feel. I've been to some countries in which I feel like if I went to a bar and I started talking to somebody, no one would want to speak to me. I didn't feel
mhm,
that way in Serbia. I felt like people would be very welcoming and chatty, you know. So
mhm,
that was cool.
yes. When you were in Belgrade, in what area did you stay, or do you recommend someone to stay? Um,
Yeah, I stayed in the Metropol Palace, so it's it's not too far from Prince Michael Street. I would say if you want to be kind of near everything, stay near Prince Michael Street. If you want something that's a little bit historic, I really like Skadar. I'm gonna mess this up. Skadarlija, Skadarlija. If you just say where's the Bohemian Quarter in Serbia or in Belgrade, that's what it is. It's called the Bohemian Quarter. It's very historic. It has all these um, not brick,
mhm,
cobblestone roads, historic brick buildings, a bunch of restaurants and shops and artisan shops, cafes. It's very, very beautiful place. I really enjoyed that. But mostly you're gonna have to kind of stay. I think most of the hotels, anyways, are near like where the government buildings are, the parliament. Um, One of the other things you'll find in walking around Belgrade is that there are a lot of parks, and people go to parks and they just hang out at parks. I mean, from like 4 in the morning till like midnight. Um, they're there very late. It's not uncommon to walk around by yourself at night. Shops stay open pretty late when I was there, so that was very cool. I would shop till like, you know, I don't know, 10 or 11 at night. There were like shops near our hotel, and I bought some shoes there because the exchange rate is great.
uh-huh. Do they stay open the whole day, or do they take siesta like in Spain and close down?
No, I don't remember them having siesta there in Belgrade. Yeah, they were open throughout the day. Um, it's and it's just a very welcoming place. I just felt like nobody saw me as a tourist, and maybe I don't like when I travel, I don't like to stand out as a tourist regardless. I mean, clearly I don't look Serbian. Um, but people were just like, "Oh yeah, she's here." I mean, they were very welcoming and they would talk to me. I even had people speak. I say I don't look Serbian, but people spoke to me in Serbian a lot. So, um, I was like,
Hey.
I kept asking my tour guide. I was like, "I don't look Serbian, right?"
And do
uh,
you recommend someone just rent a car and like drive around, or do you recommend
yes.
someone gets a tour guide to like take you places?
I mean, I feel like the tour guide is definitely going to help you understand the country a little bit more. They're going to give you the history and the background. But if you did want to take a car, it's very easy to get around this country. Once you get outside of Belgrade, it's a lot of open spaces, a lot of small towns. You're not going to have like a lot of traffic, nothing like U.S. traffic in cities. You will notice that I can't recall this, but I'm almost positive that the Serbian language is written, is it Cyrillic? It's not going, I can't recall if it's called Cyrillic, but it's going to look different. So you might not know if it's telling you, oh, you need to get off here. So keep that in mind.
Get a great
you,
GPS.
Yes, exactly. If I go back to Serbia, I definitely want to check out the eastern and the southern regions. Those are outdoor areas. They're known for very beautiful national parks, a lot of forest. They even have skiing in Serbia. So there are ski resorts with mountains that you can go skiing at. They have whitewater rafting. So they're very big in adventure sports if you like that kind of things. And I definitely want to hit that wine route. I think it would be fun to go to different monasteries and like get to know all the monks.
Yeah.
That would just make my day.
That would be amazing. So
Yes.
when do you think you're gonna go back?
Oh, okay. So I know we're in a pandemic. I don't really feel comfortable traveling internationally until maybe next year. I do want to get back to Eastern Europe. I think Serbia is a really good place to start. It was the center of Yugoslavia. It is kind of where the East and the West meet. It's very welcoming. It's very safe. Your money goes a long way. In some Eastern European countries, like Czechoslovakia, it's not going to be like that anymore. Serbia, it's very, very affordable. So if you want your money to go a long way, start in Serbia. It also has a very major airport, so it's easy to get there and then, travel by train or by car through all the other little small European countries around there, I just really want to check out Eastern Europe more. I think Serbia really showcased that I don't know enough about that part of the world. And we were talking about this too. And I think the more Latinos get into different parts of the world that maybe they wouldn't normally go to, that the better that cultural exchange, the better that we understand one another and we can grow as, a whole human society.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yay. Did you guys have any questions? Please, more than welcome to ask her about anything that you have.
Yeah.
Let me see if someone wrote something here.
Okay.
No. No, they didn't write. They say you answer all of their questions, which
I'm
is
thorough.
great. Well, yes, she's a travel writer, so of course she's gonna answer all the questions that you have.
And I made notes because I was like, oh man, there was so much there that I had to talk about.
What will people want to know? And you answer everything.
Yes.
Yes. If someone wanted to go, do you think 7 days is a good amount of time, or can they possibly do it in less, or do you recommend more?
I think 5 to 7 days is good. It is going to be an overnight flight, so you're going to lose, one day or, 2 days kind of on both sides. And I think they only fly to Serbia from New York City twice. I think there's only like 2 flights per day. So I think you're either going to get there at 3 p.m. or you're going to get there at 8 a.m. So depending on that, if you want to maximize your time, keep that in mind. I thought we did a lot in Serbia in the week that we were there, but I didn't feel like I was too overwhelmed. Like I didn't feel like I was just like running here, running there. I felt very laid back, relaxed. We had a whole beach day, which was phenomenal. I had the night out at the nightlife scene, checking all the cultural elements, and then driving around was really easy. I mean, if anything's 2 hours for me as a Texan, that's phenomenal. So
Yes.
I think you can get from the top of the country to the bottom in like 5-hour drive. So
Oh,
That's
so
not too
it's
bad.
kind of small in a way.
Yeah, it's don't quote me on that 5 hours, but I'm pretty sure that's what I remember it being. It's not that big. I mean, you're not going to be driving forever to get around it. Yeah.
Sounds like a plan. Well, thank you so much, Alex, for being here and for sharing all of your experience in Serbia. I am sure our Latino travelers are going to be looking at this and saying, oh my God, can I go now? And by the way, if you want to go now, you could, because Serbia is actually one of the countries that's available to go right now.
And there's direct flights because
And there is direct flight.
the big problem is going other countries. If you have a flight that ends up in Europe, you're screwed.
Yes.
Yep.
So this is the best time, I guess, if you want to travel internationally without a lot of people being around, and you want to escape to a place that is safe and you're gonna have an amazing time.
Yeah.
Direct flights. Chad immediately when we started, he's like, "Let me check the flights."
Yes.
Can we get
'Cause
there?
I was planning on going to Croatia this year, and it's not on the list right now. But the problem is there's no direct flights. Everything stops in Europe, so I pretty much had to cancel my entire trip. I was so mad.
Oh.
But I noticed that Belgrade has this thing called Sky Dinner, which is sort of like what I did in Greece, where they lift you up in the air and you're like, you eat dinner like over the city, and it's like this is like lifted up almost like a crane, like the one I did in Athens, which is cool. I like that.
Oh, wow.
Very, very
That's neat.
The one in Athens was nice. It was like you're like 200 feet in the air and you're like rotating around, and it was at night, and you could see like you could see the whole city as you're spinning around and eating dinner.
Wow. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. That's
Yeah, it's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
I'm an adventurer.
Well, go check it out.
Yes, definitely. Well, guys, thank you for being here. Remember, next Thursday we have another episode. We're gonna keep doing them every Thursday until the end of September, and then we're gonna switch it up and we're gonna do them once a month. We already have a lineup all the way till December. Next Thursday we're gonna have Kenya. We're gonna have our amazing friend Priscelis, and she's gonna talk to us about a purposeful and wandering in Kenya. So I hope you join us next Thursday at the same time, 7:30, to learn about that fantastic country in Africa. And so we're moving to a different continent now. Every day is going to be a different place. Then we're going to have Canada, we're going to have Argentina, Uruguay, Bolivia, Guatemala, Czech Republic, Belgium, Germany. So you name it. We're going to try to cover every country to show you that Latinos go everywhere. And wherever we go, we leave our footprint and exchange our culture with other people. So
I forgot to ask one thing, Alex.
What happened?
I forgot to ask one thing because I got distracted. But did you ever overhear them talking about our president while you were there? I just was curious.
Yeah, I feel like we did talk about it. They were kind of, I didn't feel like they were as informed about our president at the time as, and I say they, I mean, like I only had a few conversations with people, so I can't say the whole country or everybody, but yeah, it didn't seem like they really understood what was going on with him.
I don't think anyone here does either.
Yeah, we don't.
Just go out there and vote, guys, in November. That's all we can do.
Yes. Also, I added, if you want to connect with me on Instagram, you can see my Serbia stories on my Instagram page, or connect with me on my website. I'm teaching a travel writing essay on Sunday, if anybody wants to check that out. But I really appreciate what you're doing for Latinos, Vanessa. This is so exciting, and I was honored to be a part of this today.
Thank you so much. And remember, at Alex Temblador, that's who you have to follow to get her stories from all over the world. And her website also, alextemblador.com. So she's a travel writer, guys. So if you want to learn all the details, she's the person to follow.
I love how you got Palm Springs mixed in with all the other international destinations on your timeline.
I know. It was because it was pretty. It had pretty photos.
Well, thank you so much again, and have a beautiful evening. I will see you around on social media and in person one day when all this ends. Thank you so much.
Bye.